Hi, and welcome to Female Entrepreneurs Magazine, your go to platform for ambitious women who are ready to take the business world by storm. I'm your host, Angel France, and each week we'll dive into the latest strategies, stories, and success secrets from the most inspiring female entrepreneurs around the world. Whether you're just starting out or scaling up, this is your space to connect, learn, and grow alongside a community of trailblazing women who, just like you, they are making their mark in the world of business. From personal branding to powerhouse marketing, from leadership to lifestyle tips, we've got you covered. So get ready to ignite your passion, fuel your purpose, and unlock your potential with Female Entrepreneurs Magazine. Let's make this journey together and turn your entrepreneurial dreams into reality. Hey guys, welcome back to Female Entrepreneur Show, where we highlight the change makers, innovators, and bold voices shaping the world all around you that sometimes you don't get to see 100% of the time. Today, we have a truly inspiring guest whose work has touched hearts and transformed public spaces across the country. You know what? She is an accidental art activist, a trailblazer in the world of mental health awareness, and the visionary behind the Bipolar Butterfly Project. Her journey began during a deep personal and challenging time that led her to create butterfly paintings like no other. This butterfly has become a powerful symbol for the duality of mental illness, the side that shows the world one thing and the side that quietly crumbles beneath the surface. Since then, her work has remarkably changed and inspired so many people around the world. And you know what? I am so absolutely honored and welcome today to welcome the one and only Kimmy Henderson to our show. Thank you, Kimmy. You're
Thank you.
amazing.
Wow, you make me I like it. You make me sound nice and good. What an
You
intro. I
are.
appreciate it. Thank you.
You are. You're fabulous. So, if you don't mind, tell us a little about you and your journey that actually got you on this entrepreneurial spirit and
Okay.
exactly what you do.
Okay. Well, you want me to start with what I do or start with how I got here?
Whatever you want, it's your world.
Okay, we'll start with how I got here. I had a very happy, shiny childhood. I was on track to be a teacher. I was going to graduate and change lives for children before August 15th, 1998, when I survived a very tragic car accident. And my 19-year-old self found myself with casts on both arms and down my leg, and I have acidic burns around my back, and I fell into a depression. And it was circumstantial at the time, and I kind of got over that, but it derailed my life. So big pivot. So then I ended up switching schools, switching majors, and ended up being a bartender as a career until one day I found a window in the basement of our apartment and I wanted to use it to decorate. So I'm like, I'm going to try painting. I didn't go to school for painting, art. I didn't do any art education, which I wish I had. But it turned out I like to paint and I can paint. So I started painting and got involved with the local arts district in Canton, Ohio. And I stuck with windows and mirrors to differentiate myself because a lot of artists do canvas. And friends would call me and be like, Kimmy, there's windows on the corner of 4th Street and whatever. And I'd be like, okay. So I would go and I would upcycle trash and make it art. And one day I painted glasses for my old boss, and that changed everything. I found my niche. So I built Makiki's Art, which is Mama and Aunt Kiki mushed together, on custom designed hand painted wine glasses. And I went from selling locally to shipping worldwide thanks to the power of social media on Facebook. So this was back when it was organic and you didn't have to pay to boost your content. You know, your people that followed you saw it. And business was booming. I was shipping worldwide. I was featured in Success magazine, and I was offered the opportunity to sell with the national brand store. And everything was just going so fast before I had my first manic episode, life pivot. Uh, During that episode, well, afterwards, I fell into depression and I didn't want to paint wine glasses. But however, I painted that butterfly, and butterflies represent self growth and metamorphosis, you know, and personal change. But for some reason that I cannot tell you other than my manic brain decided to make the side dripping. And it wasn't until later I shared my story and what it represented to me. And I realized it represents, as you said, all mental illness, how we try to show our best, beautiful sides, even when we're crumbling on the inside. When I did share about it, I was overwhelmed by the outpouring support from my fan base, and I decided to paint a series. So one day while I was painting a series, I heard a segment on NPR about mental health and violence, and it was just lots of awful numbers. But the one that I couldn't get over was the number two cause of death for 10 to 34-year-olds is suicide. I had a 10 and a 13-year-old who are genetically predisposed. And I decided then and there that I need to use this design to make change for them and their entire future generations. So I started painting the different butterflies. We did a crowdfunding thing for t-shirts and decals, which was like 165% successful. So people were interested in it and people were sharing the story. And I responded to an open call at a local mall, and they accepted my work, and I painted my birch trees on their wall. And I noticed the other side of the wall was empty. So I shared my story with the board, and they agreed to let me paint the first Bipolar Butterfly public interactive mural. They just started to pick up from there. Word of mouth, people started asking. We saw a sculpture call, and I was like, how do we make this 3D? And we decided metal would hold up. So I reached out to different metal fabricators, find out how much it would cost, because it turns out they're very expensive. And one of the companies got back to me, and the owner has personal experience with mental illness. So they donated tens of thousands of dollars of resources and labor to help. A finishing company, the owner's family is touched. He donated thousands of dollars. A technology company, they're touched. So it's the more people hear about it, the more people want to be a part of it. So it's not my personal art career anymore. It's like its own thing. So we're growing up and out. We've had over 30 installs around Northeast Ohio, and we have one that we're talking about for New York. And my goal is to get throw them out to every state eventually. And that's where I am right now.
My word, that is so amazing. So you
Thank you.
literally go out, you'll go to a site and literally paint.
Yep.
And
Yep.
how long does it take you to do one mural?
Well, they're all different. They can take me anywhere from a few days to a week. The last one I did, we got a grant from Akron Arts Now program, and it was me, and I collaborated with 4 other female artists. So we did my design, and then each of them brought part of their own personal story to design it. So it was a collab piece with 5 female Akron artists about our struggles. Oh, we bonded, we cried together, we laughed together, we created, and we're like friends for life. And I realize now I can't do all this by myself. Even if I could, even if I had a site in every state, I couldn't physically do it. So I'm all about collaborating now. And honestly, I want to grow this project into a foundation and raise money to give grants for other people and to do collaborations, because I've also done community workshops with kids of all ages, grown-ups too, where we learn about art activism and how we can use it as a voice to make change for social change, of course, with the emphasis on mental health. And I do presentations about my story for different groups of 10 to 300 people. And every time I do a presentation or anything public, there's at least one person who says, I want to be a part of this. And then it grows to the next step. So I'm in this little drop in Akron, Ohio, but it's gradually going out. And I'm just waiting for it to just boom. I
Well,
know it's coming. It's going
I
to.
could just see you have chapters around the whole entire world with
Yeah, I would
people.
love it. That would be
Yeah,
amazing.
wouldn't it be so amazing? I can
That would
actually
be.
see that. That would be phenomenal. Doing that and having like chapters around the world actually building these projects, and you showing up and helping with do parts of it and the dedication of it.
That is exactly what I want to do.
Really? That's
Yes,
awesome.
that is wonderful.
That is awesome. So yeah, so we need this to like go out, because I mean it's a true thing that happens to people that they really need to know more about. Some
Oh,
people
absolutely.
some people just think that, okay, I'm just having this moment. Well, this moment could be more than just a moment. Am I right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is there's a raft of research and statistics and numbers that I could present to you, and we don't need to. Everybody knows it is growing at an exponential rate, the mental health crisis, and of course, the pandemic was a huge impact on that. That affected every generation, from children to adults. The economic, no, the mental health fallout from the pandemic is estimated to far outlast the economic fallout. It is affecting mental health. And there's a huge, like 50% of adults who need mental 50% of adults who need mental health care are not getting it. A huge perception is because they don't have insurance for it. They don't have the advocacy and the courage to admit it with the stigma. And even if they do have insurance and strong enough to do it, you can't get into a provider for like 2 months sometimes.
Mhm.
So my personal project, if it's okay to keep going,
Yes. Oh my God,
the,
keep.
the one statistic I know we can change that has a tangible possibility of change is the 11-year average gap from onset of symptoms to treatment. 11 years. I want to close that because that's 11 years of substance abuse and mass violence and homelessness and crime. And if we could get the people the help they need before the tragedy strikes, because all the times this happens and we didn't even know there was a problem to start with until the tragedy strikes. So my goal is to not only spread the word and raise awareness. I would ultimately love to be able to fundraise to supply research and resources for people that need the advocacy and need the healthcare insurance and the workers so we have enough people to treat people so you don't have to wait months at a time.
That is so true. That is like one of my pet peeves, and I won't go into why it's my pet peeve with insurance, but it is my pet peeve.
It is, I believe it.
It is. And I find the other thing is people don't understand the onset of the signs.
Right.
So is there like about 3 to 5 signs that you can like simply say
Well,
this, maybe?
in general, I mean, every diagnosis is different, but common things to look for are just change in personality, withdrawing socially. Um, like for me personally, it's all about sleep. If I'm not getting enough sleep, that means my brain is starting to get too excited and I hit mania. So I've experienced mania. I've actually been hospitalized for it and I've experienced depression. So I just feel like I can relate to a lot of people and I've had experience of trying to help a loved one and how helpless it feels. So I feel like I've been through all the trenches. So I can relate to people and I'm very transparent about my story. And a lot of people actually will reach out to me asking for advice. I get comments all the time and I'm like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but I can point you to where you can get help. And there are a lot of negative things about social media, but there's a lot of good things. There's an ocean of support out there. So if you go to Facebook groups or even just Google help for a loved one or bipolar assistance or just anything you can think of, there are social media groups of other people going through the same thing that can just help each other through it. It's the
Wow.
best way to educate because with mental health, there's no formal education for it. Like it's not, this is what psychology clearly is hard to diagnose. Everybody's different. Certain symptoms you might have might not be as extreme as you have. That doesn't mean you don't have this diagnosis. It's all I wish there was a way that we could make it more objective or subjective. I might have that wrong. But yeah, I say look for changes and socially withdrawing and also just what's the word I'm looking for? Like turning inward. You know what I mean? Like just focusing on recognizing that they're not putting themselves out there anymore, that they're kind of withdrawn, if you will. That's a sign for me.
Yeah. I yeah, I understand. So like just withdrawing and
Yeah.
not wanting to go out and socialize or
Right.
communicate with people and stuff. Just
Right.
that. I get it.
Right.
So
That's actually supplies for depression. Now, when it comes to mania, to recognize changes for that, mania, very common ideas of grandiosity or spending a lot. It's when you have courage to do things you wouldn't normally and you start taking action that isn't normally you. And that can be a sign that your brain is starting to go too fast and you could be on your way to an episode. Truly, sleep is my gauge. That is my number one. That's what my family knows to look for. If I'm not sleeping, they're like, I will have to call my doctor if I'm not sleeping and he'll up we tweak my medicines. And this is a hard thing about mental health too. Even if you are getting the help you need and you do go to the doctor and you do have the insurance and you don't have to wait, which it's very rare that all those things happen. It's a science, it's a dance, if you will, to find the right medication and the right dose. So it took me probably, I don't know, 6 months at least the first time to find out my personal cocktail that works for me. And sometimes I've tried other things that don't work. And sometimes the symptoms or what's the word I'm looking for? The bad things about medicine, side effects. Side effects and symptoms get overlapped and it's hard. So you really need to have an advocacy to help you stay on top of it which I was blessed to have. And I know I don't want to say the majority, but I know a lot of people don't have that. So it's just, it's a dance, it's a war, it's a journey that everybody goes through separately. It's different for everybody.
Wow. So it's a total journey. So let me ask you a question. So I'm envisioning something, and you're going to think I'm crazy. Everybody usually gets on here, and we talk about some idea, and they go, "Oh yeah, I didn't think about that," or they're like, "Yeah, like what you said. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do." I can actually see the butterfly, just like the butterfly you're wearing, or something like that. Or yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, on different symbols, like different things, stickers to all kinds of different things for people.
Oh,
Okay, there she goes.
oh,
Yeah.
here she goes. Okay. I'm going to give you a little story really quick that a lot of people don't know. I'm comparing this symbolism. Okay. So symbolism does more for our communication and memory than words, reading, or talking. Like, for example, they do studies with little kids and they show them images, and kids know Instagram and Nike and Starbucks and Target, but they can't read yet. They're just, their brains know it. And when it comes to symbolism, it can create community and it can foster solidarity. So you look at the yellow flag, which is for military deployment. There's yellow flag programs to help military adjust back to life with resources like education and whatnot. That was started by one woman in 1979 named Penny Langan. She tied a yellow ribbon around her tree because her husband was one of the 52 hostages of the Iranian hostage crisis, and she wanted to rally support. This is before social media. So people started tying yellow ribbons and it became a huge thing. Kind of like a rainbow flag, it's a symbol and it gives people a community and identity, and it's raised funding for different things. And the one that really stands out to me is in 1990, a woman named Charlotte Haley, whose family was riddled with breast cancer, tied little peach ribbons and added a card to them that said, the government spends 1.8 billion on cancer research and only 5% goes to prevention. So a big agency got wind of it and wanted to use it. She was afraid to at first because she didn't want to commercialize it, but it ended up being pink. And now here we go. We have the pink ribbon. So all the money, I mean, the hundreds of millions of dollars that the pink ribbon has raised for cancer prevention, and it's working because the death rate for breast cancer is steadily declining. So last year there was like 44,000 people that died of breast cancer. Well, last year over 50,000 people died of suicide. Over 1.6 million people attempted suicide. So, I mean, it's working clearly, all that stuff that Pink Ribbon has done. Well, mental health is getting worse. So I really feel like this could be a symbol that could generate sales, whether it's merchandise and clothing. I want to see it on the Pepsi can at Super Bowl. October's pink, June is rainbow. I want May to be bipolar butterflies because I really believe the money that this has potential to raise, because there's an ocean of funding out there and everybody's advocating for mental health. You got celebrities, athletes, politicians, influencers, and everybody's trying to raise money. There's tons of different programs raising money, but if we could funnel it with a spotlight, just as the pink ribbon has, I feel like the potential this has to rival, to make money and help make change and close that 11-year gap is literally unlimited. There's no market untouched because mental health affects everyone, every demographic. It doesn't matter your religion or your political affiliation or your sexual orientation or your culture or your location or your status, the world, everybody's touched by mental health. And if you are fortunate not to have it yourself, somewhere in your life, and most people do, can name someone in their life, whether it's family or friends, coworker, then you think about our children and how the rates are getting worse. Think about your children's future spouses and your children's future friends and their children. I mean, everyone's going to be touched by mental health even more and more as the statistics grow if we don't change something.
It, and you're so right. But I realized I didn't say something earlier, and it relates to what you're saying because of having the symbol May for the butterflies
Mhm.
being the symbol. I did not say that your name or your business is the Bipolar Butterfly Project.
Yes, that's the movement, that project. Yes.
That's your movement.
Yes.
And people can find you there at
Yes.
bipolar, butterflyproject.com. Is that correct?
Yep. Yep. I
Okay.
have a website
Yeah,
and social media.
yeah, I didn't say that. And I'm like, okay, so yeah. So we need your butterflies with the Bipolar Butterfly Project to be the symbol for May.
I would love that. That's my ultimate dream.
Yeah,
I just feel like it's the kind of thing where like it all has happened for a reason. Looking back, I didn't get diagnosed bipolar till I was 35, which is later. I think it's like late teens to 20s is the average, the biggest age group to be diagnosed. And then there's a little bit of a bump later in my age group. And I read once that the later diagnosis is a result of high intelligence or high creativity. I'm definitely the creativity because
Create.
our brains are able to ride the highs and lows better for some reason. So once I was diagnosed, looking back, I can see my pattern. There's times where I'm creative and I stay up and I can't keep up with all the designs and ideas. And then there's times where I don't want to paint. I don't have the motivation. So I recognize the mania and I recognize the depression.
Very good. Because that, and thanks for explaining that, because I didn't know the difference.
Oh yeah. Okay. So bipolar, there's bipolar 1, there's bipolar 2. 1 is more severe and life altering. 2 is more of a gradual up and down, but it's hard to live with. 1, like my episodes, I have a delusional fully episode that I need medicines to bring me down. And it usually takes a couple weeks to recover because they're such heavy downers. And then I rebound with depression. So the higher I go manic, the sooner you catch it and you take the meds, you can kind of tailor it off and it won't be too bad. Then the shorter or not as deep depression you'll have afterwards. Again, everybody's different.
Right.
But in general, that's the basic premise. I think you got to try to find that stable middle line, and it's hard because when you're manic, it feels good. You have energy. You're not sleeping because you're not tired. And you feel like you can take on the world and you do have grandiose ideas and you do feel like you have this calling or role. And at least I do. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say everybody, but thoughts of grandiose is very common for it. And it feels good. And then when your family members tell you, Kimmy, you aren't okay, you need to take these medicines, it's like you hang your head, you cry, and you do it. But a lot of people don't. And that's the people we need to help because they don't have the family to tell them you need to do it. And even if they do, you can't force people unless they're a danger to themselves. So it's a tricky system. It really is. It needs a lot of help.
Wow. And I love the way you actually relate it to a dance, a journey, for the
Hmm.
simple I'm a dancer at heart, so I can
Hmm.
relate to that,
Yeah.
that movement, the ebb and flow and the up and down.
Yes. Yes.
So, and how you have to like how to make it even. And that's,
Yes.
yeah, I totally get it. No,
Yeah.
I understand. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
So, I know you have children and
Hmm.
are they're teenagers?
15 and 18.
15 and 18. Okay.
Yes.
So, one of my favorite questions to all entrepreneurs is how do you balance that with what you do?
Well, there's 2 eras. So when they were little, it was just time. Time was the question. Spending time with them and spending time working, that was a bit of a dance too, and it was hard. But now at their age, it's more about being able to turn my brain off of all this work I'm doing and have quality time. Not that I didn't have quality time with little ones, but it's a deeper conversation at this point in life. And it's trying to be 100% present in the moment with them individually and listening to them because they have their own ideas now. And it's like they're my friends. You know what I mean? It's a fun stage to be at. And I'm not implying that you're not present with little ones. I'm just saying it's a deeper level. And I want to consciously be able to listen and give advice. And it's difficult sometimes.
So, when they're little, you're playing games and doing things like
Yeah,
that with them.
yeah. Simple
And
bonding. I mean, just being with them. They love to be with you. There's plenty of times my kids will come in my studio and be like, "Mom, you've been painting all day," and I had my fair share of that. But now, yeah, it's more deep, if you will.
yeah, especially being teenagers, they do they ask advice? Do they want to communicate? I mean,
Actually, I have always been very, very open with mine, and I don't think there's anything they feel like they can't come tell me. They definitely talk to me about things that I was afraid to talk about when I was little. So they're very open with me. And I think we have a very healthy dialogue. And they know all about my mental health because they witnessed me go through 6 episodes since they were 5. It's actually funny because my last little spike, I had to adjust my meds just a couple months ago. And my husband's out of state. So my kids who've seen my episode and their friends are on the phone and I'm sitting here at the table listening to the teenagers discuss whether or not we need to call her doctor. And it was like I am the mom, but I had to rely on them because they were the ones that could see me from the outside.
oh wow.
Yeah.
And I think it's just an open communication. Because I know some people probably go, how did you get that? Your teenagers are actually talking to you and communicating.
Well, I would have to say one silver lining of going through all this stuff is they've seen me go from one end to the other, and they've seen how I know some people don't like to use the word crazy. I don't mind the word crazy. They've seen me at my crazy moments, and they've seen me at my depressive moments, and I guess I had nothing to hide from them. I'm very open with them, and especially these conversations about mental illness, because they know the genetics things. And my daughter's asked me about, if she's going to have problems, and I'm like, regardless if you do or don't, we don't know yet. It's so treatable. It is so treatable. You just have to be open to treatment, not necessarily medication, but at least just talking to someone, a professional who can give you advice and who can be unbiased about your personal. Therapy. I think everybody should do therapy. I know it has a stigma itself, but there is just something healthy about going and unloading and letting our brains just our feelings.
I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
So, all right. One of my favorite questions is if you had a superpower for one day, what would it be?
I would fly. I would fly. I'd fly high. I'd fly fast so I can go travel the world like Aladdin and Jasmine on the carpet. That's what I would do.
So that makes sense that you paint butterflies then.
Yes, that's true. I never really thought of that, but you're right.
Yeah, that really makes sense. I like that. And you could go, I like the Aladdin.
The reference. Oh, I was a huge Disney. Okay, I say I wasn't creative. I've always been creative. I just didn't paint, but I've been doodling Disney characters on napkins and envelopes and stuff my entire life. So
Wow.
that's why I referenced Disney probably.
Hey, what is your favorite like tool for work?
Okay, well, the obvious is literal paintbrush, and it matters what kind of brush you use. I've learned this one thing. I used to use the cheap ones. It really does pay off to have the quality stuff. And music is my requirement. It helps me be in a zone, and I have very eclectic taste. I like a little bit of everything. It depends what mood I'm in and what creation mood I'm in, and like what I'm painting is. But music has to be there to help me be in the right mind frame.
So now that we're talking about music and song, is there a go-to song that you love to like motivate you?
Oh, there are so many of them, to be honest. But the one that I think would be my personal mantra right now would be Brave by Sarah Bareilles. It's about being brave and saying what you want to say. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
That's a good one. You already given us some fun fact that nobody knows about you, but can you give us another fun fact?
that no one knows about me. Uh, well, people in my personal life know it. My first job when I was 16 years old, I worked at a chocolate company and I
Mm.
got let go because I ate more than what they paid me hourly. True story. I ate the expensive stuff that I couldn't afford. So I ate the good stuff out of the cabinet. And she's like, you're overeating your average pay. And I'm like, okay.
I'm sorry, that was funny.
It's funny. It's funny. But it's true.
All right. What is your favorite book?
A tree grows in Brooklyn.
Wow. Why is that your favorite book?
I don't even know if this is the main, this is just what I take of it, is when she's little and they have no money, her life is happy and you hear it in her head, it's sensible and she just sounds happy. And as she grows up, life becomes more, she ends up having more than she had when she was little, but you have more to deal with in life. And it's just, it's sad, but there's funny parts. And it reminds me that when we're little and we're not stressed about stuff, we find the magic more often in the little things. The more you have, the less magic it seems like.
Love it. I love it. All right. So, what is your favorite quote?
I'm gonna mess it up, but
Okay.
Dolly Parton, find out who you are and oh, what is it? I just said it. Find out who you are and do it. I feel like I need to Google that. Oh, find out who you are and do it on purpose.
Okay.
I
And that's
might,
Dolly Parton.
yes,
Find out who you are and do it on purpose. I love that.
yes, something like that. It might be off a word or two, but that's the gist. Find out who you are and do it on purpose.
I love it. That is great. Um, so how can people get in touch with you? That's another thing. Um,
I do have a contact on my website. social media on Instagram and Facebook. I'm just now launching a YouTube where it's kind of a study because I'm trying to figure out the best channel to reach people with this project. So I'm going to compare Instagram versus YouTube for 30 days and see which one gets more traction. This is something a strategic coach recommended to me, so I'm going to do it. And I just add a subscription link. So if you put your email in, subscribe, because I am going to be dropping a shop soon to get t-shirts and decals. And eventually we're going to have a shop, hopefully, to do mugs and phone cases and totes and pillows and all the things.
So on your website, there's a subscribe or contact me button, and they can just go
Yep.
there and do that. Awesome.
Yep.
That is awesome. All right. If you can inspire somebody else to be a creative artist or entrepreneur like you are, what would be that one thing that you would say to them?
Like the advice I give them?
Yeah.
From my experience, I would say no matter how much you plan it, no matter how much you plan it, your path, um, you are not in control, and be ready to pivot and find yourself again. And you might not fit a mold, whether it's college or trade school. I was on track. I had a huge pivot. I was on track again. I had a huge pivot. Don't stress. Don't sweat the small stuff, because your path will find you. You just have to be open to looking for it. We don't all fit the same path. Some of us need to forge our own.
That's fabulous. I love that. I believe
Mhm.
that wholeheartedly. What would you
Yeah.
tell your 18-year-old self?
Well, I'm going to say my 19-year-old self, because I had a car accident when I was 19. And my 19-year-old self, who was depressed and stressed and felt like she lost her future and what is she going to do with this life, and was paranoid of the burns and scars, get over it. Love yourself. You're stronger than you think. And just keep going forward.
I love it. All right. What else would you want to tell our audience? Is there something I didn't ask you that you wish I would have?
No, I think you gave me a great opportunity to share myself. Is there anything you want to ask me that you didn't?
No, I think it's
Okay.
fabulous. I think it's fabulous. So I want to thank you for being with us, Kimmy. Oh my God,
Absolutely.
you are totally precious.
Thank you.
Totally precious. I love your openness. I love what you're doing. And I am going to be an advocate for your May butterflies on everything.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Female Entrepreneurs Magazine. I hope you found inspiration, actionable tips, and a sense of connection with our incredible community of driven women. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and share the episode with fellow entrepreneurs who are ready to elevate their game. Remember, your success is just the beginning, and we're here to support you in every step of the way. Until next time, keep shining, keep thriving, and remember, you have the power to create the business and life of your dreams. Stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.